Hello, my name is Mrs. Odunuga. I am the principal of Nedi High School. Today I will be having an interview with Miss Margaret. My school is looking for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 teacher in the high school. You have the job detail. This teacher will be reporting to the principal. The primary purpose of this job application is to provide students with appropriate learning activities and experiences in the core academic subject area assigned to help them fulfill their potentials for intellectual, emotional, physical, and social growth. Enable students to develop competencies and skills to function successfully in the society. The qualifications we are looking for include the minimum qualification of a bachelor degree from an accredited university, a valid Texas teaching certificate with required endorsement, demonstrated competencies in the core academic subject area as assigned, which is going to be Algebra 1 and 2. The special knowledge or skills that we will be looking for in our candidate today will be the knowledge of the core academic subject. We want to look for general knowledge of curriculum and instruction, ability to instruct students and manage their behavior, strong organizational, communication, and interpersonal skills. Experience. We will be looking at least 1 year student teaching experience. Major responsibilities and duties are divided into several sections, like want to look at some instructional strategies that our candidate will be able to display in the classroom. We want our candidate to be able to develop and implement lessons plan. We want our candidate to be able to present subject matter according to guidelines established by the Texas Education Agency. Plan and use appropriate instructional and learning strategies. Conduct assessments of student learning. We want to see styles, and we want to see our student candidate to be able to use data to help the student academically. Conduct assessment of student learning. Work cooperatively with special education teachers. Work with other members of staff. Plan and supervise assignments of teachers' aides. We want to see how our candidate can use technology in the classroom. We also want to ask questions on areas like student growth and development. We want to see how our candidate will be able to help students analyze and improve their studies. We want to see how a candidate will be able to conduct ongoing assessment of student achievement in the classroom. We want to see how our candidate will be a positive role model for students. We want to see our ability of our candidate to be able to manage the classroom, to engage student behavior accordingly. In terms of teacher, student, and parent communication. We want our candidate to be able to establish and maintain open communication by conducting conferences with parents and students, as well as principals and the teacher. Maintaining a professional relationship with colleagues, ability to be able to work with team, ability to be able to use effective communication skills to present information accurately and clearly. We also want to ask questions on the area of professional growth and development. We want to see how our candidate will be able to participate in staff development, team collaborative activities, keep informed on compliant with state, district, and school regulations, compiling and maintaining a file of all physical and departmental meetings, be able to attend and participate in meetings, departmental meetings, and be able to serve staff and committees as required. So these are the things that I will be looking at with our candidate today. Thank you as you watch along with me. Hello, how are you today, Miss Margaret?
I'm fine.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your interest in our school.
You're welcome, ma'am.
To start with this interview, will you tell me about yourself?
Okay, my name is Margaret. I'm actually a graduate of computer science. I've actually done computer science for some time. I've worked in the, in the industry, financial industry for over 10 years. And my love for teaching has always been something that has driven me. And even while in the financial institution, I discovered that teaching was actually my passion because I helped new people that came on board in the financial institution where I worked. And so I knew that that was what I wanted to do. So I had to just walk towards that vision. And so now I'm presently in the classroom. I'm teaching students. I believe that financial status that I've had working in that sector has really helped me to know how to help students. So basically, I'm a teacher in the classroom, teaching students now. I've been a teacher for the last 3 years in my ISD. I've been a math teacher teaching math. I've taught all levels of math, from algebra to geometry to mathematical models and application. I've had to deal with the regular class and the advanced class. So basically that's my preview about myself and what I currently do now.
Thank you. My second question seems that you have answered a little bit of it, but can you go in detail? Why do you want to be a teacher?
Okay, I want to be a teacher because I want to make a difference. Personally, I want to tell you about myself that I was once influenced by a teacher. My life was touched by someone. A teacher made a positive impact in my life. And, what I know as a teacher is that I can always make a positive impact in the lives of students' life. I want to be able to reach students. I want to be able to be part of the people that would develop the lifelong learners. And that's why I wanted to be a teacher. I want to, motivate students to be successful. I want to create an atmosphere for students where they could learn. I love math and science. And so I felt that wanting to be a teacher would help other people. I want to make young people have passion. I want to help them achieve their dreams. I want them to discover their purpose. And I want people to be successful in life. And I know being a teacher would help me be able to achieve this.
Thank you. What is your teaching style like? Your philosophy of teaching?
Okay, my teaching philosophy is that I'm motivated by the belief that all students can be successful learners. And so while I do that, I'm trying to create an atmosphere that would promote active learning through multiple learning styles. In my classroom, I make learning fun for my students. I make learning very engaging because I do a lot of hands-on activities. And, basically I engage my students from the very first point they come into my classroom. So we get to understand the lesson, we explore into the lesson. And basically once we explore, I try to elaborate in my teaching. Then what I do is I try to evaluate my students. So basically I try to extend my teaching. So believing that all students can be successful, I try as much as possible to make everything possible. So I'm actually very patient with my students. I know that everybody does not learn at the same pace. So basically what I do is I know that there are diverse kind of learners. So I identify my students in the classroom and I see how I can come in to help the advanced one and the struggling students. So believing that everybody can be successful, I put in my best to see that I put in all the learning styles for my students so that everybody in my classroom is successful at the end of the day.
Thank you. My next question. We are interviewing you for a math teacher position. And I know that math is a difficult subject and students struggle with it. How do you plan to deal with this problem in your classroom?
Okay. I know that we have a lot of students that are struggling in math, and we can also classify some students that actually, they could be failing. So once I teach a lesson and I try to access my students and see that they actually, because what I do in my lesson is I try to ask probing questions along the line. So my assessment is not at the end. While I'm teaching, I'm asking questions just to get feedback, because that would help me, change my style, even in the classroom, to help students understand what I'm doing. And so when I find that I'm asking questions to students and students are not actually understanding the questions that I'm asking, basically what I do is I just go in to see how I help my students. I try to change my style, one. I try to also make sure that students are collaborating in my room. Students are learning from each other. Basically, my style of teaching is student-centered. So I see that students are also learning, students are engaged. So I could turn to students and say, think about something, share with your friends, because I know while they share with a partner, they can tend to understand better. So asking questions like that would help me. And when I come in the next day, I know that I have to help my students again. If I have to reteach the concept, I reteach the concept. So I help my struggling students from the very first time that I notice that there's a problem. Basically, I can't do this alone. So what I do is, in a lot of times, I know that the time in the classroom might not be sufficient for my students. So what I do is I seek time, intervention time. I ask students come in for tutorials. And where I need to involve parents, I also involve parents, because I know their support is very important. A lot of times students struggle in your classroom for various reasons. So if I speak to parents and I seek their support, I want to get ideas on how we can help that student to be successful. What I do is identify that area of need of that student. I could schedule time in the classroom. So when you come into my classroom, you find out that while I'm teaching students, I'm also actually helping students. So I actually go into the power zone to see that I'm helping students, the ones that are having issues. I help them on that area. And when I find out that the time in class is not enough, then I try to set out time after school or, tutorial times to help them. So basically what I do to myself, my failing students, is I make sure that I do a self-reflection for them. I make students know that, okay, you're struggling in this area. We need to develop an improvement plan for you. And I will encourage that student and I will support that student. I'll give the student the ideas of how that student can be successful. I give students a lot of practice work just to see that they're getting what I'm actually teaching. Then basically, like I said, we have some students that are actually reluctant in your classroom. They are reluctant to learn. So basically what I try to do is identify the reason why they are being reluctant. You know, they're not just interested. Some people don't like math. I want to see their areas of interest so that I could develop my lessons to suit those needs. So activities I'm going to be having in my classroom are going to be tailored towards meeting the needs of those reluctant students so that everyone in my classroom is engaged, the class is interesting to them, and I help them set goals. You know, if I help my students set goals, I'm challenging them with the instructions that I'm teaching, then I know that they're able to what? Engage with the learning. So that's basically what I do to my students.
Thank you. How do you handle difficult students in your classroom?
Okay, difficult students. What I do basically is from the onset of my classroom, I always have classroom procedures, which I make students read, understand. I share with parents my expectations for my students. Now, when I find out that a student is going off course, I try as much as possible to address that student. So if I have a difficult student not staying on task, I want to call out that student, you know, possibly to the hallway and explain to you, you're not following the procedures, you're not following the classroom rules. I have a one-on-one talk with that student. What I do again is once I find out that this student is being difficult, like I say, I would always involve parents because I know there could be a reason behind such actions. So I want to get parents' involvement. I want to talk to that parent and see how we can help that student. If that student is struggling with something at the home front, I want to know why that, you know, how I can help that student, why that problem, why the student is difficult, and how we can help that student. Now, schools always have rules. Like in my school, we have set procedures where we have points where students go off course. Once a teacher has helped the student, talk to the student, you've escalated to the parents, and the student keeps, you know, on with that attitude, then you want to extend that to what? You want to escalate further to the administration to see how that student can be helped, you know, or talk to the counselor to see how they can also come in. So basically my point of view is difficult students, I try to get them the needed help that they need. I come in to see how I can help that student so that student will come back to be, you know, on task.
Thank you so much. Well, while you're answering question, my previous question, you mentioned about talking with the student's parent. In what other ways do you build relationship with your student parents?
Okay, from the very first day that my class is set up and I have parents' emails, you know, I have my students' information. I always send a welcome letter to my parents, to parents of my students, of what to expect from me. I actually introduce myself. I tell them expectation for the students, expectations that I expect from the parents, how they could come in to help my students. So basically from that point, they know me, they know my track record, and they know that I'm there to help their child. So basically, I send communications home to parents when I expect them to know something about me or about the classroom or about the school program. So basically, I keep them informed. I create that connection between parents. Now, basically, teachers always call parents when there are issues. For me, I call parents when there are issues and when there are no issues. When I see a student has done something exceptional in my classroom, I want to commend that student and I want to tell that parent, oh, your child has done this. I'm impressed. You know, so I also give positive feedback to parents. I give not only negative feedback to parents. So when there are programs in the school that I want them to be involved in, I also communicate with them. So I'm making sure that I'm constantly communicating with parents about programs, about improvements. And when I see that a student needs help, is struggling, I want to communicate with that parent to see if there's something they can do from their angle and recommendations that I could get from them to better know that student and to see how I can help that student. So as a teacher, I'm always going to treat my student fairly. I'm going to treat them equally. I'm going to avoid all form of bias. I want to make my students feel comfortable, and I'm going to show to parents that I'm making their child feel comfortable and safe in my classroom. So basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep an open communication. I'll be open-minded to parents. I would also recommend that they talk to me about issues they're having and how I could come in to help and support their child. Because we know that I need to build relationship with them. Relationship is the foundation for everything that we do. We need the parents in this. We need the community. So I'm going to be making sure that parents are going to be part of my classroom. They're knowing from the grades, they're knowing from student progress, they're knowing from student positive feedbacks. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to involve my parents.
Thank you. Tell me about a time you worked with a team to solve a problem.
Okay, basically, presently now, I am the unit head of the Algebra 2 team in my school. So what I do is we have meetings once in a while, every week, possibly, to see how we can discuss and share and learn from one another. So what we do basically is, apart from the PLC time, we want to see how we can, because once we meet and we discuss, when somebody has an idea of how to improve an area or a concept, or how we can improve student learning, we want to see how we can provide that opportunity so that we can learn from one another. And so basically, another time I had to work with a team was I had to present to my school that I had a project which was called the Problem of the Month. So in my team, we had the Problem of the Month, which we wanted students to help understand the concept. We wanted to help elaborate more on the concept. So we put the questions at various levels. So we had to come up as a team. So I was actually heading the team because I had the proposal. So we had to work together with my school and with some teachers in the math department to see how we can come up with questions, how we can see and improve students so that they can actually become better problem solvers. Because once we introduce a concept to students, we want to see how they can actually extend learning into literature, into other fields of learning. We want to see that they can actually solve problems, real life application problems. So we came up with that team and I headed the team. And that was like a time that I recently worked with, with a group of teachers and an administrator.
Thank you. We know that we work with other teachers in the school. Tell me, how will you handle misconceptions?
Okay, this always comes up all the time in our meetings. Everybody has ideas, everybody has things they want to say. And I know that everybody's wanting their ideas to actually, be chosen. So basically, once we have misconceptions in our meeting, I try as much as possible to let all sides speak. I'm taking an analogy from what happens in my team. I have a group of 6 teachers that come together. So once we have an idea, somebody's speaking, another person has another idea. Now, we don't want someone to feel down saying my idea wasn't, incorporated. Basically, what we try to do is we try to make sure that when we have arguments among each other or we have misconceptions like that, we try to hear each other out. We try to see how we can come in to get the best idea. What I always tell my team members is, whatever we're trying to do, the bottom line is that what will improve student learning, how we're going to make students better, how we're going to improve ourselves, even as teachers, and improve what we currently do and make the school, better and more suitable for our kids and students are learning. So once I have something wrong, there's a misconception, we'll try as much as possible to hear each other out and we'll try to clear such misconceptions so that everybody's working together as a team because we need each other to thrive.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. Can you walk me through a typical lesson in your classroom?
Okay, if I have a typical lesson, I've designed my lesson plan and my students are in classroom with me. What I do from the beginning is I want to know what student knows. So I want to access their prior knowledge. So I come up with a warm-up. The warm-up is for my students to actually introduce them to what we want to do for the day. So by asking them questions and asking them ideas, So basically I could come up with something like students would just look at the question, and I want them to be able to identify maybe problems or something wrong with that question, or ideas of how to go about it. Now that is relating it to what they previously know. So before I begin my class, I want to see how to engage my students into the learning for the day. So once I see that my students can identify a problem, correct a problem, I always call it, look at this problem and see how you can clear this problem. So once I see that students understand this problem, I've engaged them. Now they want to learn. They know that there's an area they need to understand. So from that point, I want to explore. So basically in my classroom, if I have a concept, I want to see that my students have an hands-on. In math, someone will say, how do you conduct an experiment? We conduct experiments by making students actually, practicalize what they have to do, what they have to learn from the day. Now, once they learn, the concept haven't been introduced to the student. They're just learning, they're just trying to find out what this idea is about. Now, once I see that students have explored, so concept will come to them. They already know that this is the vocabs will come to them. Now I want to see how I want to elaborate. So I start teaching the lesson. So students can actually think from what they've explored and how they've been engaged to see how they can connect the two together. So once I do that, I start teaching it. I start introducing the vocabulary into the concept of what I'm teaching for the day, the lesson for the day. Then I try as much as possible to see how I can extend that to other areas of learning. So once I teach it, the lesson, I want to see how we can also extend it to other areas. Now, at the end of the day, my idea is that I want to evaluate before students miss my class. You have to critically think about what we've talked about, what areas you need help on. You want to discuss with the teacher. I'm going to be asking questions, asking probing questions to see that the lesson for the day has been cleared. So I have a close-up. So it could be a think, peer, share. It could be exit ticket form. Now, basically, my idea is that in that lesson, I'm trying to make sure that students understand. So I'm going to, in that same lesson, ask questions, give them a worksheet to see that what we've learned for the day is finally understood. So basically, that's what I do. And the information I get from the class is going to inform me of what is going to happen the next day. So I'm going to see if the next day is to move to another lesson. I won't move to another lesson when I know that there are a lot of misconceptions from the previous day's lesson. So I see how to clear up misconceptions, then we move on to the next concept. So basically that's how my day is in my room. You come into my room, my students are engaged, they are working, they are learning, they are sharing. My students are collaborating because once they collaborate, they learn from one another. They are sharing, they are discussing, they're asking questions. So my classroom is always student-centered because students are actually building such questions by themselves. Students are actually asking questions. Students are actually designing their question. My classroom is not, come in, do a worksheet. No, come in and actually build up questions from what we just did. So my students actually develop such questions by themselves.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret.
You're welcome.
How do you motivate students in your classroom?
Okay. From the first day I have my students, I have a questionnaire. And that questionnaire is it helps me build a database of areas of interest in my students. It helps me know them personally, what they like, what their future aspirations are, because I teach at the high school. And I want to know what next steps they have. Now I want to know their areas of interest, their hobbies, what they like doing. So that will help me build my lessons and my activities. So once I'm designing my lesson, I have such knowledge in mind. So students come to me period by period. And once they come into me, I know, okay, this class, this is their focus. So I want to design activities and lessons that'll be tailored to the needs of students. I motivate them by, helping them in my classroom to, share their ideas, share their thoughts. I motivate them by supporting them. You get, I have to support them. I have to give them all multiple learning styles. I want to make sure that I'm not just one style. I want to make sure that every student in my classroom is being touched. So I make sure that I address all needs. So my classroom is basically a project-based, problem-solving classroom because I teach math. And I think that the bottom line of being in the math classroom is for you to become a better problem solver. So basically, I'm always helping my students to, engage in, activities, incorporating projects where they can expand on what they have learned. And I know that with that, they can get to learn from one another. So once I see that a student has done well, I commend that student. Now, a student that hasn't done well would also get, his own share, which is like, okay, you need to do better. So basically, every student in my classroom is, motivated to want to become successful.
Thank you. How do you use data to differentiate instruction in your classroom?
Okay, in my team, once we do the formal assessments, we have an application that helps us see questions that are mostly missed or areas students are struggling with. So once I see the data from that point, from the formal assessment point of view, it helps us see how we can come up with ideas. So we share ideas as a team. Oh, your student did well so much on this concept. What did you do? How did you teach it? So we want to learn from each other how to help students understand it. So once I see that there's an area of need, I have to go back and we teach that concept, to students. If I identify it's a particular group of students, I want to see how I can come up with more activities, in helping that student to understand that concept so that concept is not, not understood. If it's not understood by student, such misconceptions is being cleared. So my data really drives what I do in my classroom. It helps me know what areas students are struggling with and how I can come in to really help my student. So I try in a timely way. What I do, my data is not limited to the formal assessment. Like I said, in my classroom, every time I'm teaching, before in my lesson plan, you're going to see questions that I expect my students to answer, ideas that I want my students to come up and generate with. So I'm monitoring my data daily in my classroom. I'm monitoring to see that my key goals are being set and that students are actually working towards continuous improvement. So it's a continuous thing. I don't wait till the end of the formal assessment to use data. I use data in my classroom because there are ways using technology, you can see that, okay, this area is being, missed by students, and you want to see how you can come up with more activities, more things for students to be able to understand the concept. So you want to build up more things for students to do to enhance that concept that you've taught. So I adjust my learning, adjust my teaching to my students, and I see how, monitoring really, really helps me to judge and work on my data.
Thank you so much. My next question, how do you integrate technology and guide students to become global citizens?
Okay, I'm so excited about that question because technology really, really helped and came up alive in schools due to the pandemic that we had. I can say the easiest time I taught this course that I'm teaching is when we had to incorporate technology. I teach Algebra 2, and we teachers online had to find the best way to help students. So we were learning as teachers how to use technology in the classroom. Now, it was a very innovative time for me because I learned a lot of things and I was able to incorporate in my classroom. So we had a lot of programs and applications that made math very easy for students. Now, students had Chromebooks in the classroom. So then students could do activities. Well, we had a lot of applications that could test students, that could just help students engage in online activities. Now, something I like again was discussion online. How do you discuss? I set a question, okay, and I expect my students to discuss. And when students discuss, I want them to critique one another. So technology in my classroom has really improved in terms of Algebra 2. We do a lot of graphing, a lot of functions. Now, functions came alive better using the technology than the regular graphing calculator. So technology really made a lot of difference, helped students to understand. A typical example is if you want to teach graphing and transformation, just using a graphing calculator, students just see. It's hard for students to actually see that the parent function passes through the origin. Most people don't remember that. But when you use the applications like Desmo or GeoGebra, what happens is that students are able to see, they see the point, they see the vertex, they see the colors, and they're able to see the changes that happen between the parent function and the transform function. So it really brought a lot of benefit, improved learning in a lot of ways. And I think that's going to stay in my classroom because, like I said, from discussion, from trying to work on applications and programs, from trying to test students just in the classroom, using Kahoot to actually know the student understand this concept and see how, there's something else to do. In my district, we use Canvas. So it was basically not just the videos, but more of the activities where students could get tested and see their grades. And so what we do on our quizzes was, you get something wrong, there and there students can know what they got wrong. You give students trials. Like if I set a test question, I say, try harder next time. I could as well, once students check their grades, they can actually see, what do I need to do? So I could give hints on the quizzes to help students know how to correct and actually solve the problem. So you see that all this helps students to become better problem solvers. So it was able to help students connect with one another. It was able to open up students' mind. Something I also loved was, another application I loved was Discovery Math, Discovery Education. It really helped students because once a teacher has taught a lesson, you want to reinforce that lesson. How do you do that? You want students to watch, other videos, other things that would help them expand their knowledge about what you've taught. So technology really made a big difference in the classroom. Also another area of technology was you could make students read digital books. You could make students, that's what we did in the math class. We had to make them read books that had to do with math questions. And really that opened up, a lot of things. And I can tell you the representation, giving students that multiple ways of learning really helped from the conventional style of learning that students were used to. And, basically, we know high school students struggle with phones in the classroom. So technology just made the difference because they could do other things, So it took off the phone from them and made them tailor their minds towards technology. And it really made a big difference in my classroom.
Thank you. Okay. So what happens when you teach a lesson and you find out that students are not really getting it? Maybe you just have a few of them getting the concept right. What do you do?
Okay, when I teach a concept, while I'm teaching a concept in class, and I find out that some people do not get it, what I do is in my room, I have a zone. Now, when students don't get it, I try to, get other students involved with the same activities. So I extend the activities for my students that get it so that they can go higher. What I do in my classroom, I try to do a leveling thing. So students move from one level to another level. So if you have gotten the concept, I want to see how I can extend you to an higher level with more questions. I don't want you to get, demotivated by the fact that I've gotten it, then I'm done. I want to see how I can extend it to something higher for you. Now, for those students that haven't gotten it, what I try to do is, create time in my room within the class to see how I can help. So I have my zone where students come to me for help. Now, I also identify some students in class that actually could get that skill. So I could pair students up with activities to see how students can also learn from one another. So they can also collaborate to learn. So basically that's what I do. My style of teaching is once I'm done teaching, I give my student room to share with one another. Now sharing and also collaborating would also mean some student leveraging on the very advanced students who want to get their knowledge. No, I make sure that everybody in the group has a role to play, and that's how I see that I have to help my struggling student, creating time in the room to see how I can separate them and help them understand the concept that they need, or pair them up with friends in the room, that could help them understand that area they're missing. Now, this always depends on your style of teaching most of the time. So a teacher should be willing to change your style. So basically, I switch my style of teaching. I change, the whole thing to see how I can, help the students to understand that concept that I'm teaching.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret.
You're welcome.
My next question. What are your expectations on the administrators of this school and other personnel?
Okay, my expectation, I'm a teacher and my job is to teach students as much as possible. These are my students, I know them so well, but we have a lot of times when students, actually are not just in the mood, they go astray, they become difficult. What I expect from administration is to support teachers, support me as a teacher, help me, back me up, see how they can encourage the students. Everybody has their role. I can't do the role of a counselor. So I expect, the counselor to help me out once I've relayed a problem to you, to see how we can help together, come to help the student. Now, administration deals with what? Discipline. Where they need to apportion disciplines to students, I think I need them to do that so that students know that there are consequences for their actions, and I want them to treat all students equally. I want them to treat all students well. Also for me, I need support from them. Once you come into my classroom, what I like is I like those positive criticism. And when there's something negative, present it to me well and let me know how I can improve. Just help me see how I can become better at what I do. So that's what I really need from administration, their support, and let's all come together to see how we can help students, become better citizens.
Now, for you as a math teacher, what do you consider the toughest time for you as a math teacher?
Okay, my toughest time as a math teacher, do I have tough times? I really, I'm still thinking about it. Basically, I've been doing this for 3 years and I think I love what I'm doing. So my joy is I want to come into the classroom. I want to help my students. I want to challenge them. I want my students to want to learn. I want them to be ready to go. So basically, I would say I really have a really tough time because I strive every day to see that my students are improving and they're getting better. So I don't think I have a really, really difficult time, doing what I do. I enjoy what I do.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I think I'm almost done with my question. Now, why do you want to teach in our school?
Okay, I want to be a teacher in your school because I want to make a positive impact in the life of students. If I come to your school, that would give me the opportunity to do that. And I know your school is very diverse. I want to be able to reach diverse learners. I want to inspire them. I want to be able to present math to your students in a very engaging and in a very interactive way. I've read so much about your school and the district. I know that you guys give the opportunity for teachers to fulfill their goals. So I know that if I come to work in your district is going to support me with professional development programs, which I discovered that your school is good at. You invest so much in your teachers. And I know that once you invest in teachers, it really enhances students' knowledge and skills. I know that you guys give opportunities to teachers also. And I want to just play my part. And I know that your district is a great district. You incorporate a lot of innovative programs and technology to help students. And I want to join that amazing school district because I believe in the overall vision of your school. I want to be part of those of the district because I also learned that you guys raise critical problem solvers. And that's one of my goals, to raise students that will think critically and become better problem solvers and actually at the long run become better citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. What questions do you have for me?
Okay, the questions I have for you is, I've actually read so much about your school district. I know so much about your school. I'm impressed by what you do. I'm impressed by the programs the school has, the activities for the overall development of the students. My problem will be tailored towards I want to find out what's the curriculum like in the math department. What's the ratio of student to teachers? What is do the teachers in your school, do they teach more than one course? You know, like in the high school, do you just teach algebra? You teach algebra, geometry, or you just give teachers one thing to be focused on? And do you have an instructional coach? And what do you think the instructional coach will help me do?
Thank you. I think I will answer your question one at a time. Well, let me start by telling you that the ratio of student to teacher, we have one teacher to 18, 20 students per period. And also, we give our teacher one subject to teach at a time. If you're teaching algebra, you stick to algebra. And if you are teaching geometry, you stick to geometry. And our curriculum is, we use the Texas curriculum. That is what we use in our classroom, which we can always find online. You know, this is what we call the TICS. That's what we use in our school. And then also we have instructional coach for math department. So you can always go to him or her to help you with any problem you have, or any material that you will need in your classroom, or a resource that you want to have an access to. You can always go to the instructional coach for your department. Did I miss any question?
No, they touched on every area that I asked. Like I said, I've actually read so much about the school. I'm impressed. I'll be so excited to join the team because of the goals, the visions that I've seen, and I'm ready to run with your vision and the goals that the school has set.
Once again, thank you so much for your time. I've actually learned from the answers to my questions. Thank you so much. I will get in touch with my team, and then we will give you a call as soon as possible.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Bye, man.
Bye.